children deserve a place in schools. Today's classroom demographics are much more diverse than the primarily Western European, English speaking, upper class population of early U.S. education. While this proverbial salad bowl of grouping benefits learners, it can also increase the complexity of jobs for educators working to meet the needs of all their students. Let's begin with what student diversity means. Some students have academic and cognitive differences. This can look like a learning disability in which students have an individualized learning plan. In contrast, it may look like a student who has a gift or talent in one or more areas, such as academics, arts, sports, or leadership. In some cases, students may be what is known as twice exceptional, in which they have a learning disability but are also gifted in some way. Students can be different in developmental and personal ways as well. Every student has varying physical activity levels, motivation levels, career aspirations, and interpersonal skills. Students' backgrounds bring them into the classroom from different cultures, ethnicities, and races. They may also speak another language at home and need assistance learning English at school. Even for native English speaking students, their home dialect may be different from the academic language of the classroom. Examples of this include African American Vernacular English and Appalachian English. Students also bring with them individual identities and backgrounds, including religious diversity, gender identities, socioeconomic status, and varied home life and family structures. Regardless of what the personal stories of classroom students are, the expectation for educators is the same: equity in the classroom. Teachers are responsible for meeting all students' needs. It is important to note that equity and equality are not the same thing. Equity requires providing different supports to meet the needs of each student to achieve individual success. Teachers must work actively to combat barriers such as poverty, limited access to resources, and low expectations at home. If teachers don't do this, the classroom will experience negative impacts. Research shows that teachers often unconsciously treat students differently based on bias. To combat this, it is recommended that teachers reflect on their own biases and encourage students to do the same. Teachers should also avoid grouping students based on ability, as this can hinder student growth. Rethinking what intelligence looks like can benefit today's teachers. While traditional schools emphasize language and math skills, other forms of intelligence are often overlooked. These can include emotional intelligence, varied learning styles, and non traditional cognitive strengths. It helps to think of that old adage: everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Let's move on to discussing students from diverse socioeconomic backgrounds. Research shows that low SES students may not demonstrate verbal ability in traditional ways and may require more intentional and persistent questioning to reveal understanding. This may be influenced by prior school experiences and how they've been treated. For example, low SES students may not be familiar with adults asking them questions that they themselves already know the answer to. To some students, this form of questioning can feel like it's meant to set them up for failure. Because of this, teachers must work to avoid underestimating student ability based on standard assessments. There are a variety of instructional strategies that teachers can implement for diverse learners, including visual and tactile lessons, tiered assignments, and assistive technologies. It is also important to maintain family teacher partnerships whenever possible to support student success. This can be done through newsletters, notes home, and parent teacher conferences. It is best to avoid making any assumptions about families and instead seek out parents' insight about their child. While meeting student needs begins in the classroom, broader school and district programs are also beneficial. Free or reduced lunch programs, early interventions, and Head Start programs are just a few ways to set every child up for success. The true foundation of student success in any classroom lies in teacher student relationships. Attempting to challenge students without first building a relationship often just leads to resistance. Students will naturally be more willing to engage when they feel valued. Ideally, effective teaching requires both high expectations and strong supportive relationships. Let's hear from a teacher with experience teaching minorities in an excellent rated school.
All right, so Miss Noblet, tell us
Yes.
about how long you've been teaching and
So
what
this
grades.
is my 6th year teaching. I taught 4 years in elementary school, 5th grade, and I taught everything. And then this is my 2nd year in 7th grade math.
Okay. And you are excellent at making every student feel like they belong in your classroom. So tell me about how you make that work.
I think coming from elementary is really helpful in that, just because I'm used to being with the same kids all day long. Um, and I kind of know how important it is to like build such a positive foundation first off. I focus a lot on praising kids for their effort and not their outcomes, because that's where they're going to see if to see that I'm invested in them, and I don't care if they are super smart or whatever, but it's more of like, are you putting the effort in to my class and participating? Another thing is I hold everybody accountable. I make my expectations very clear at the beginning of every class period, probably until December every day. And then it's probably about once a week or when they need reminders from there on out. But like following through with my expectations, kids thrive on routine and do a lot better when they know what is expected of them. And so I hold them accountable each and every day for, here are the things I need from you. And if you can't do that, your actions have consequences. But I also never just leave it at, here's your consequence and we move on. There's a follow-up conversation 1 or 2 days later. Especially
once they've like calmed down.
Especially in middle school, they need a space to process and they need a space to calm down. I keep my voice the same way it is right now when I have to discipline them.
Takes effort.
Yeah, it's a lot of breathing on my end. To say, my favorite is when they're getting really worked up, to say, oh, am I raising my voice right now? I didn't mean to come across like I'm raising my voice at you. I was just trying to have a conversation. And then they kind of know like, oh, she's not out to get me right now. Like she just wants to talk to me. And kind of let them know, hey, these are the ways that I'm meeting you where you are. I need you to meet me where I am. And they kind of see that that relationship goes 2 ways. And then when I see them make a better choice, I acknowledge that. When they do something good, I acknowledge it. It's constantly like refilling the buckets. When I have to make a withdrawal and enforce a consequence, there's a conversation followed up. I also know that some kids will not have a conversation with you face to face. For that, through the years, I've learned like having a conversation with them on a piece of paper and writing down my thoughts and giving them space to reply on a piece of paper as well has been really helpful for the kids who do not like to have a spotlight on them positively or negatively in any capacity.
Okay. So you have some classes that have like ML students all the way up through like GT kids and every level in between. Do you have any strategies that have really worked for trying to teach all those different levels at once?
Sort of. GT, they kind of have their own standards and curriculum, so that's a bit different. I always know I have to have more things prepped for them because they're going to get through stuff quicker.
Well, maybe like high level learners in your regular classes then.
Okay, gotcha. I don't always do this because it's not always super helpful. Like it just, you have to know your students, but in some cases I will pair a low level student with a high level student just sitting next to each other, never in a way of like, hey, I need you to teach them, because that's not their responsibility. But I'll do it strategically with some kids where I know the higher student is going to lean over and offer support just because that's who they are as a student. So I kind of do that strategically, but not intentionally, because the high student is still a student at the end of the day. It's not their requirement to teach the kid, but it's nice for that student to have that support, quiet support that's there where they know like, hey, what's this? Like they could lean over and ask real quick. When we do warm-ups and stuff, I like put the warm-up on the board, and then as the warm-up time ticks down, I start to add in scaffolds to the question. So I'll put, maybe after a minute or two, I'll put the entry-level formula. And then after another minute, I'll kind of maybe lead into the first step. So students who are having a hard time getting started, they can see, oh yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. Here's the next step that I'm supposed to do. So I kind of slowly scaffold and build for those who are struggling, and then the high flyers can just go ahead and do all of it. But I'm giving the other ones like points of input in it. So
well, that all sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.